Hello and welcome to another episode of Varsity360. I'm Columbian sports editor Micah, joined today by Tim Martinez, and we have a fun show lined up for this week. We are going to count down the top 10 most clutch moments from the winter high school sports postseason, and boy, there were a lot of them, and I can't wait to get to some of the big basketball shots, some thrilling wrestling matches at Mac Classic, and then some outstanding individual performances in sports like girls bowling and boys swimming. But before we get to all that, we're once again coming to you from the First Pacific Financial Studio. Thank you to First Pacific Financial for supporting the show, for supporting high school sports, and by extension, supporting the community at large. But Tim, you kind of got some of the momentum started for this project by putting together a recently published collection of the top basketball shots and moments, and that had me thinking a little bit broader. So definitely some highlights and some just great examples of athletes coming up big when the pressure was high.
Yeah, the top 10 or the top 10 video thing that we did on basketball, it's on our YouTube channel, 360 Preps, the Columbian. It was mostly like key moments, teams winning for the first time and going to state for the first time in many years, or maybe it was a really great shot, a clutch shot at the end of the game, or winning a state championship or something like that. So this is a little bit different. These are kind of like some clutch moments coming up, some big moments in some tight spots.
Well, we'll start with basketball and talk about coming up clutch. How about having your best shooting performance as a team in a elimination game in the state regional round in a hostile gym on the road? That's exactly what the Camas boys team did in their state regional round game against West Valley of Yakima. In Yakima, Camas just could not miss. They made a season high 19 3-pointers in an 84-67 win. Jace Van Voorhees and Ethan Harris each made 6 3-pointers as the Papermakers booked a return trip to the round of 12 in the Tacoma Dome. And Tim, I think what made this most impressive for me was it wasn't their leading scorer and hands down on-floor leader Beckett Curry that was really doing a lot of the, he had a great game, but it was other people chipping in.
Yeah, that's one of the things about this opening round when you've got to go on the road is you're playing in an unfamiliar gym, unfamiliar settings, and if you're a team that depends on shooting like Camas, that could be a problem. But obviously going to making the trip to Yakima and being in a gym that was unfamiliar to them, it must have suited their shooting styles because they shot the lights out that night up in Yakima. And you were there, and you made that trip. But you could, watching Camas over the year, you could see that how much, having a really good shooting night from a lot of different people, really fed into their success.
Well, and I talked with Coach Ryan Josephson after that game, and the way he explained it was that was the culmination of what they really have been working on all season, to not just have one player carry the bulk of the scoring load, but their ball movement around the perimeter was so good in that game, and getting making the extra pass to get a catch and shoot 3, and then to knock it down. You just could see moments where it just sucked the life out of that gym, which was definitely pro West Valley.
Well, yeah, because it was at AC Davis.
It was at Davis, so just a couple miles away.
Not a big travel for them. And so it's a tough situation for a team, again, being the seeding situations, to be the team that's got to travel. It got them to the Dome, and they couldn't quite carry that momentum at the Dome. I mean, they had the same sort of thing going in the first half at the round of 12 game. They couldn't quite sustain that in the second half. But it set them up for an opportunity to do something and to go to the Dome and experience that. And I think it's kind of a really good sort of capping win for Camas this year. They had some ups and downs. They had some injuries and trying to fill some holes. And I think it's kind of like the perfect mixture on that night. Well,
Camas definitely came up clutch on that night. Talk about coming up clutch again and again and again. That's what this amazing wrestler at Prairie High School has done. We're talking about no other than Faith Tarrant, who at this year's Mac Classic capped her junior season with a third state title and the second straight year where she has won every match by pin. Just absolute perfection from Faith Tarrant. And in this moment, she pinned Tahoma's Catherine Peterson in the second period of the 235-pound championship match. She became the 15th girl to win three state titles since girls wrestling has been a part of Mat Classic, and she's already thinking about the future where she could become just the 5th girl in Washington State history to win 4 state titles. Faith Tarrant, there's just no let up with the fiery competitor that she is, but really embracing that role of being a role model for girls wrestling.
Yeah, and she's done a great job with it. I mean, what's one thing to win 3 straight state championships as a junior. It's another thing to go undefeated throughout the season. It's another thing, to do it all by pin. And I don't even know of her 38 pins this year, how many of those even went into like the 3rd period.
Oh, I don't think any of them did. Yeah. I mean, she's so dominant from top position, especially. And I talked with her coach and her herself and asked about that dominant top position. And that state championship match was pretty typical of how a lot of those matches for her go, where if she doesn't get you in the first period, they flip for position in the second period, and she chose top, and the match was soon over. But I just couldn't be more impressed with Faith as not only as a wrestler, but as a person, and how she really views her role as being one to expand girls wrestling, to welcome all of the finalists all the people that qualify for Mat Classic, take selfies on the podium, just a great ambassador for that sport.
Yeah, she's certainly done that, and she's really kind of grown as an athlete and as a person. Personality over the last, I remember talking to her as a freshman, and being a little bit quiet, but now it's kind of really sort of taking that leadership role.
Definitely. Another girl who came up clutch in her sport, and I just can't wrap my head around this one. You've bowled, you've probably rolled a couple 110s. But have you ever followed that with 3 games of over 200? That's what Lily Madison at RA Long did up at the state championships. She started off kind of slow with a 110 that left her well off the pace, but she caught fire at the end, ending, I think, what is a 6 or 7 games, 6-game series with 220, 217 and 226 on a day when only 7 games in the entire tournament of over 200 were rolled. How does a bowler catch fire like Lily did up there at state? I remember looking at the results when you look at the results and say, oh, hey, look, she won. She won by, I think it was 2 pins over her teammate, Ava Rodman. And then I kind of looked at the series and I saw that 110 in game 1. And, I go bowling 2 or 3 times a year, and I could bowl a 110. It's usually if I go bowling, if I don't hit three digits, then I'm usually annoyed. But to see a bowler of her caliber to start off with a 110, it's got to be deflating, because you want to go in there, you want to do well, you want to bowl well, you help your team. And I don't know, what the issues were, if it was an oil pattern that she was just getting used to up there at Bolero or whatever it was. But once she found her rhythm there, she took off and won the state title. That's pretty impressive. Well, and it's not like she was a district champion who kind of was on everybody's radar. I think she finished kind of outside of the top few places at district. So you kind of look at someone like her as being a key member of a really good team that's in state championship contention. But boy, when you catch fire, she, in her case, she really caught fire.
Well, I think Ava Rodman and Lily have been 2 of the better bowlers here in Southwest Washington. She didn't do very well at the district tournament, and neither did Ava Rodman. The RA Long team, I think, finished second in that week on their home lanes at Triangle Lake. So they didn't bowl, and I think it's district. It's only individuals. It's only 3 game series. So you have an off game, it can kind of throw you. It's kind of like if you golf and you have one bad hole, it can kind of throw out your whole round. So if you had one of those 3 games, not the best, it could drop you down. And so to come off of that from district and then go to state and open with a 110, I think sort of the mental, being able to sort of fight back from that and power through, I think it makes it more impressive.
Well, yeah, and just great example of coming up clutch in girls bowling, 3 games over 217. That's just out of this world. So we move on to our number 7 most clutch moment. We talk about in this case, an exceptionally talented swimmer from Fort Vancouver in Tariq Kurta, who ended his season just on a really successful note, placing second in the state in the 50 freestyle for the second straight year. He added a 3rd place finish in the 100 free, but you were up there at state, and I thought a really cool element of what Tariq did up there was ending his high school career by leading his team to a victory in the 200 free relay and the consolation round, so that Fort Vancouver, the last time they stepped off the pool deck up there in Federal Way, was as a winner of their race. Just what did Tariq mean to that team, and how can you describe the success he had this year?
It's really impressive what he was able to do this year. He's not a club swimmer. Mm-hmm. Most of the state level swimmers, they swim for their high school team and then they go and they compete for, a local club here in Vancouver, or they're swimming over in Portland. But Tariq doesn't do that. He just focuses on himself and on his high school program. He's a high school swimmer, and he's kind of been a part of a growing program there at Fort. I think his freshman year, the pandemic shortened season was his freshman year. He said they had three swimmers at Fort. And this year they had over 20. And so Tariq and then some of the other kids help, recruit and encourage and bring kids along into that program. And so I think his success is kind of like making kids think, say like, hey, I've never been a competitive swimmer before, but this guy, he's on the podium a couple years in a row now. And so if he can do it, then, why can't we do it? And so I remember in that final 400 relay, or that final relay that Fort swam, the first 3 legs, I think Fort was like after the 3rd leg, I think they were like in 4th or 5th or something like that. And then Tariq hit the pool and came, and then they won that heat. So it was pretty impressive for him to close so much ground on the leaders there.
Well, he has about the perfect swimmer physique too. He's tall, he has broad shoulders, and incredibly powerful. I got to think that for the short moment he's in those sprint races, it's fun to watch.
Yeah, he's it's kind of because the races are show. It's one in the 50 is up and back and up and back twice for the 100, and there's just this constant splashing and pounding away, and and every little mistake counts on that. Having a good start, having a good turn, all those kind of things, and he was able to pull it together to earn a 2nd place, and then just got nosed out and took 3rd in the 100. So it was just a really impressive individual effort and a chance for someone from Fort Vancouver to shine, which I think is something that he takes pride in.
Yes. Our next clutch moment, number 6, we go to gymnastics and talk about a sport where there's zero margin for error. That's definitely the case in gymnastics, and especially on the balance beam, which makes what Union sophomore Carly Chris did so impressive. Balance beam isn't her favorite event. She likes the vault. But on this day, on the 2-day competition up there, she qualified for the individual apparatus final in the beam. And then on the Saturday in the individual event final, she came through with a 3rd place finish. It's the 2nd straight year she has finished in the top 3 in an individual event, following her 2nd place finish in the vault. As someone who is maybe not the most agile and coordinated, I just am always in awe to see what those gymnasts can do with what they're able to do, especially on a beam that's only a couple inches wide. And boy, you're off by even a little bit. You're sometimes falling off and having to do that in front of hundreds of people. I just can't say enough about gymnasts like Carly Christ coming up clutch in that moment.
Yeah, I've been up to the state gymnastics meet. I was up there a couple of years ago. It's a fun event. It's But it's a, you go in the first day and you have to have a score that's puts you into the finals in the individual apparatus. So you have to have a good, performance to get you into the finals. And then all the scores, they get wiped away and everyone comes out in the final and they perform. And it was sort of, do we talk about clutch performances, to kind of come up there and say, okay, let's get back on and put together a good routine and impress the judges, and that's exactly what Carly did.
Well, almost every gymnast who makes it to state is good in all four of the events, but you see kind of the same gymnasts, kind of dominate, whether you usually get the top 3 or 4 gymnasts who finish in the all-around competition on Friday, go and place pretty high in most of the events Saturday, which I think makes what Carly, who is a very good all-around gymnast as well, but to go in and, and basically hold her own in one event against, top 1, 2, and 3 gymnasts all around. I think that's when you just have that one event you're competing in on Saturday, that's quite impressive.
Yeah, it's, I think it's what you wanted to do. You want to perform your best at the state championships in that final day, and that's what she did.
Well, another person who performed his best at the state championship, union wrestler Noah Koyama. The junior, he had been so close in previous years to winning a state title, finishing 3rd as a freshman, 2nd as a sophomore. Well, he finally got that elusive state title up at Mac Classic, but it didn't come easy. He took on a reigning state champion in Dayton Johnson of Chiawana. Noah was leading 2-1 coming down to the final 20 seconds of the state championship match at 138 pounds. Dayton Johnson escapes for a 1-point score that ties the match at 2. But Noah Koyama, he didn't want to go to overtime. He told me he was on a stalling warning at that point. So, that leaves no margin for error if you do happen to go to overtime or it's sudden victory. So Noah got right back on his opponent, scored a 2-point takedown with 7 seconds left, and wins his first state title. But this Mac Classic just had so many good moments for drama. And Noah was part of we'll get to some of these other matches, but it was just one after another. Clark County wrestlers coming up big in the clutch, and Noah getting that state title was just a huge moment for him and the union program.
Yeah, at some of these moments, it's like some of these thrilling moments coming and you're covering it, and it's kind of like it sort of unfolds in front of you. You're like, whoa, this is kind of a big moment. I got to make sure I'm got my video running, or if you're taking photos, you're doing photos and all this kind of stuff. Sometimes these moments, they run up on you. It's kind of like I was out to Clark County Wrestling Championships, and there'd be some matches where it's like, oh, okay, it looks like this one's, this person's going to win like 4-0 or something like that, and then a couple reversals and takedowns and escapes, and boom, next thing you know, it's tied, so when you come down and holding on to a 2-1 lead, heading it down to the closing seconds, it's like anything can happen. So it's kind of like a basketball game where one team makes a tying shot with a couple seconds left, and the other team comes up with the game winner. It's kind of like that.
Well, another impressive thing about what Noah did and about the sport of wrestling in general, it's not like basketball where it's coming down to the end and you can call a timeout and draw up a play. You just have to go. He took his shot and, made a shot and shot in both senses of the, metaphorically like a basketball team does, but also wrestling. He took his shot, got that 2-point takedown. And I think was just so satisfying is how close he had come the previous 2 years to finally get over that hump and to call yourself a state champion. For a wrestler, that is everything.
Absolutely.
So speaking of taking shots, the Camas girls basketball team did and made a lot of those this season. We talked last week with Scott Thompson about his team's state championship journey, but the shot that really clinched it for them was in the fourth quarter. Gonzaga Prep, after being down by 20 in the first half, kind of had worked their way back into the game. They cut it within 12. They were still within striking distance. But Parker Mares, she goes left-handed through the lane, makes a really tough contested driving shot, put Camas ahead 50-36 with 3:18 to play. And from everyone who was there, you were there, Tim, we talked with Scott Thompson about it. That was the shot where you kind of felt like that was a wrap.
Yeah, it was it was an interesting game. Gonzaga Prep actually came out, jumped out, took a 6-0 lead, and then by the end of the first quarter, it was 20-6 Camas, and by early in the second quarter, it was like 28-8. And at halftime, some of us in the media table, we were like, we're going to have a state championship game that ends with a running clock. It's going to get up to 40 points, And I remember telling somebody, I said, well, we'll know in the first like 2 or 3 minutes. If Camas comes out, goes on a run, then pulls away, then maybe. But Gonzaga Prep came out in the second half, made some tough shots. Their freshman guard was doing everything she could to keep them in the game. And as we got into the fourth quarter, Camas, was 0 for 6 to start the fourth quarter. Luckily, defensively, I don't think Gonzaga Prep shot much better because the papermakers were able to kind of keep that at bay. But, it got down to 12 points, and you're thinking, one possession, get this down into single digits, and then maybe things get interesting. But Parker comes down, and she hits that shot and throws it up and ends up on the floor. Seems like half the time Parker is making some shot in the lane. She ends up on the floor after the shot, but it's kind of the way she plays. And it gave him a 14-point lead with a little over 3 minutes to go. And it's kind of like at that point, it's kind of like there's just not enough time to make up that 14-point difference. And the fact that I don't know that Camas has given up more than 50 points in a game, in a lot of games this season. So it's kind of like at that point, it's kind of like it's a little bit too big of a mountain with as much time as left. And so it was kind of like that's the one where you kind of thought, yes, now it's in the bag.
You could kind of relax at that, although they didn't, not till the final buzzer. But at that point, you're thinking, all right, now how am I going to describe the state championship team here? All right, we go back to wrestling for our number 3 most clutch moments. And this actually involves 2 wrestlers, the DeRocher twins at Skyview. Jonas DeRocher and Mason DeRocher, freshmen, came in with a big reputation, lots of success in the club level at freestyle tournaments and Greco-Roman tournaments. So by no means strangers in the wrestling community here, but the freshmen lived up to the hype at MAC Classic, and they did so in 2 of the more intense matches in a state championship round that I can remember. It started at 113 pounds with Jonas DeRocher. He was trailing, or he won 6-5 after trailing 5-2 in the final 30 seconds. Well, how do you make that up? You do that with a reversal and a near fall to win 6-5 over Curtis Carlisle of Rogers Puyallup. So right after that, they have a little bit of a break, hand out some awards, and then his twin brother, Mason DeRocher's on the mat for the 120-pound title. He wins 1-0 over Owen Marshall, fending off what looked to be a near 2-point takedown from Marshall in the final seconds, but couldn't quite get around Mason. And the DeRocher twins are state champions as freshmen in 2 of the more intense matches that I can remember. Just came the margin of error, or the margin of victory, which is so slight in either of these.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we talked about earlier with these wrestling matches go down. It's unusual to see a 1-0 match at 120 pounds. That's you usually see that at the heavyweights, the big guys that kind of rumble and push each other around, and they don't score much, and someone scores a point, and then they just try to stall out. It's unusual to see 2 lighter guys who are usually very active and moving to only manage to put 1 point between them. It's kind of and then to have it happen right after the way that his brother had just rallied to win it in the last 30 seconds. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I asked Mason about that. Did any of the momentum of seeing your brother win carry over? He said, yeah, it's usually we wrestle like this in a lot of these tournaments where it's like he goes and then I go. And usually if I see Jonas winning, I'm feeling pretty good about myself and feeling that it's our day. And I tend to wrestle with a lot of energy. And that's exactly what happened. But I think what that 1-0 result in Mason's match showed was just how technically good defensively both of those wrestlers were. It wasn't like it was a dull match where they're, just kind of feeling each other out and kind of slapping each other in the head a little bit to try to, figure out their time. It was one person would take a chance and it'd be rebuffed, and it just sort of went that way. And it wasn't until Mason got an escape in the third period that the deadlock was finally broken, and that set it up for a thrilling finish.
Yeah, and just the added bonus of just having 2 brothers win state championships on the same day, back to back. It was part of a big day for Skyview and state championships overall too.
Yeah, 4 individual state champions after the DeRocher brothers won. You had Owen Pritchard winning his match, and then J.J. Shaneline becoming a 2-time state champion after that. So yeah, definitely a highlight day for the Skyview wrestling team. We go to basketball. We'll finish with our number 2 and number 1 moments, both on the hardwood. And boy, they don't come any bigger than these shots. We'll start with Ari Richardson of Columbia River. Just imagine your team is in the regional round of the state tournament trying to get to Yakima for the first time since 2019. They drop a play that isn't necessarily, I think, supposed to go to you, but it ends up in your hands with the clock ticking down. Ari Richardson launches a 3-pointer, nothing but net, beats White River at the buzzer. He gets mobbed by the student section. That must have been a thrilling ending to see.
Yeah, it was a thrilling ending. It was a close game all the way throughout. It felt like White River was the team that was actually had an advantage at some point. They would kind of go out to like a 4 or 5 point lead, and River would cut it back and maybe take a 1 point lead. River had to close like about a 4 point deficit in the last couple minutes. A free throw late tied the game. River came down, had the ball, about 45 seconds to go. Ari put up a shot for a 3-pointer with around 20 seconds to go. It missed, but Carter Sharon chased down the long rebound, called a timeout, drop a play. The play was supposed to be, Aaron Hoey coming off a screen, and he was option 1, and then Nico Valdez, who was setting the screen, was supposed to roll off and be option 2. But White River covered both of those, and so Ari just kind of like, I got to make something happen here. Drove, stepped back, knocked down a 3 with like two seconds left to go, and just set off mayhem for the Rivers, the players and the student body that was all there.
You don't see crowds rush the court very often in high school basketball. But this was one of the more wild celebrations like that. But yeah, to run down to the other end of the court and then get mobbed by 100 of your classmates, it's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Because at Battleground we have some media tables set up along the baselines, and so in the first half, River was playing to the basket towards us, so you can get like good video and stuff. And then when they're playing to the far court, it's kind of like you have to kind of like zoom in to try to capture everything that happens. But then Ari hits that shot and celebrating, the whole celebration just comes down right in front. So it actually wound up being pretty cool, and having everything come out and be able to catch that on video and then share it to social media and stuff. So it was pretty big. So.
Well, that moment shares something in common with our number 1 clutch moment of the winter sports postseason. Another buzzer beating shot, another celebration that happened to migrate right over to where our reporter was. That's Ryan Hansen, the hero, winning the Skyview's 4th place semifinal game with a buzzer-beating 3-pointer in overtime to beat Tahoma 80-77. Coming off the bench, he did to make that shot when 2 of Skyview's starters were in foul trouble. He nails it. The whole Skyview team kind of celebrates right in front of Will, where he's taking that courtside video, and just a fabulous moment for Skyview, where you have a role player step up and clinch the Storm's first trophy since 2018.
Yeah, I think pretty much Tahoma and maybe everyone in the Dome thought it was Damari Collins who was going to get that shot. It was just kind of the guy you expect to get that shot. And he had the ball. He brought it down, went over off on the left side, kind of drew the defense, kicked it out on top to Ryan at the top of the key, and he knocked down the shot that earned the victory. Tahoma did get one last desperation shot. Wasn't close, so just a big moment, and a big moment for Skyview, and they took home a trophy from with that win, and just kind of a cool team moment for the Storm.
Well, I think what these last 2 moments with the players making the big shots shows is that sometimes it's your star doing the star power things at the end, and other times it's someone stepping up, whether the play isn't necessarily initially drawn up for them, or whether it's someone like Ryan coming off the bench and saying, someone's got to make a play. I got the ball in my hand. Here we go. I can make the difference here. It's all about stepping up when the moment is big, and I think that's what all these top 10 moments had in common that made them so thrilling.
Yeah, these are the kind of moments that's why we enjoy doing what we like doing. It's like going out and seeing these thrilling moments and big wins and emotional moments, and I think getting out and being able to go out there and capture some of that emotion kind of makes our job that much more fun.
Absolutely. It's why we keep coming back. Well, congratulations to all the athletes who competed this winter. Congratulations to everybody who competed at the district, regional, and state level. And congratulations to these athletes who we highlight today who came up clutch when it mattered. Next week, we're going to have a special episode where we reveal the all-region boys and girls basketball teams. So be sure to tune in for that. But until next week, thank you for watching, and we will see you later.